Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to another episode of the Goodcast Show. So today, I have an amazing guest with me. We've been talking for a long time. This has been a long time in the making, and he's finally here. You may have known him in the past. He's a Malaysian politician and lawyer who served as the minister in the Prime Minister's department in charge of national unity and social well-being in the Pakatan Harapan administration under Prime Minister Tun Mahathir from July 2018 to the eventual collapse in February 2020. He was the Deputy Minister in the Prime Minister's Department from May 2013 until his resignation in February 2014, and Senator from June 2013 to his resignation in February 2014, and again from his appointment to the Cabinet in July 2018 to July 2021. He has served as the first and founding president of the Malaysian Advancement Party, MAP, since July 2019, and he's also known more popularly for his role as one of the key leaders of the famous Hindu Rights Action Force, Hindraf. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome. It's an honor to host this gentleman on my podcast today. Please welcome Mr. Waytha Moorthy. How are you, sir?
I'm well, thank you.
Thank you for coming here, first of all. And
My pleasure.
I think your name is synonymous with Hindraf. That is something that everybody knows you for doing. And I think Hindraf really captured the imagination of Indian voters when it first came to the scene. It was known for big events and rallies and big ambitions. So I want to start off from the beginning. Hindraf, as many people may not know, is actually an NGO that brought together 50 different Hindu NGOs under one umbrella. And initially, of course, its main sort of role was to protest the whole demolition of temples, etc., and also to defend the Indian people. But I want to get your view on this. At the time, at Hindraf's inception, what was its primary objective?
Well, you mentioned about Hindraf getting together about 50 NGOs. That was true in the beginning. We didn't start with demolition of temples. We started as a result of the burial of mountaineer M. Moorthy as a Muslim. Prior to that, Hindraf didn't exist. I felt that was not right. Of course, lawyers challenged the decision in court. I joined them. I was not part of the legal team, but I joined them to give my moral support. End of the day, the court, I feel the court abdicated its powers, and I feel justice has to be given to the family. For simple reason, if he had converted many years ago, then it must have been brought to the attention of the family. He can't be living with and practicing Hindu religion. But only when he went into a state of coma was the family told. Now, subsequent to that, I tried gathering some organizations. Initially, they came. You were right, about probably not 50, probably about 30 to 40 NGOs came. They were very gung-ho about it. They said, no, this is not right. We have to do something about it. And I said, okay, fine. So we decided to form a kind of an organization. We called it Hindraf, Hindu Rights Action Force. And then the week after, I decided that I was going to give a petition to the Yang di-Pertuan Agong. For the simple reason, Yang di-Pertuan Agong is the protector of the Islam religion, as well as protector of all Malaysians. And I felt that as minority religious groups, we should also be equally protected. On another note, 45% of the Malaysian population are non-Muslims, including the Sabah and Sarawak Christians. Now, the decision in M. Moorthy affects 45% of Malaysians. We have a right to. So I thought as non-Muslims, we too deserve protection of the Yang di-Pertuan Agong. So I decided to hand over a memorandum. So within a week, I made the decision, and I called for a meeting. All 30-odd organizations went missing, except for one. And I thought, well, I've decided to do it. I will do it. With or without them, I will do it. There's only one organization was with me. And we went in, we gave the memorandum to the Yang di-Pertuan Agong. In fact, I went one step beyond by asking the Agong to sack the judge who made the ruling. Well, you can't question the conduct of a judge. But in that case, I did, as a lawyer, I know I shouldn't be doing it, but I did it because I wanted to send a clear message out there that being a lawyer, I was willing to take the risk of being sent to prison for contempt of court, for insulting the judiciary, because I felt that the decision was really unjustified. So that was the beginning of Hindraf. And subsequent to M. Moorthy, I went on an international campaign because I realized we are not going to get justice in the country. At that point of time, the Internal Security Act was very much intact. Many people fear raising racial and religious issues, and in this case, it involves the Islam religion. Therefore, it's immediately deemed sensitive. You are not supposed to talk about it. You're supposed to live with it. That was something that I could not accept, because justice means justice is meant for everyone, for each and every citizen. And so I embarked on an international campaign on my own initiative and with my own funding. And I went to the United States State Department. I went to the Foreign Affairs Select Committee. I went to the Amnesty International in Washington, Human Rights Watch also in Washington. Then I came to London, again met Amnesty, met a number of British parliamentarians and human rights organizations. So that was the beginning of Hindraf.
Okay. Now, the thing about Hindraf is it really, like I said before, it grabbed the imagination of us, because it really sort of put itself out there with a lot of grandiose ambitions. One of it was that a planned rally of 10,000 Indians to submit a memorandum to the British High Com. Basically, the idea was to support a class action suit against Her Majesty's government for bringing Indians to Malaysia as labourers and exploiting them for 150 years. And the thing that really caught my eye, I remember when this happened, was
you must have been very young.
Very young. I was very young. I was very young. I think I was still studying that, I think. You demanded 4 trillion US dollars, sort of basically 2 million USD for every Indian residing in Malaysia for the 150 years of exploitation. Now, one thing, YB, I have to ask, considering two things, considering that this is a monarch that till today will never admit that they stole the Kohinoor diamond, a monarch that has done crimes across nations, right? It's known, it's already written, it's reported and all that. Do you think that, I mean, and for them to entertain your suit would invite other Commonwealth countries to come in and demand for their pie of the stolen fortunes, right? So do you think that when you did this, that they would actually, this would actually come to fruition, or was it just your way of sort of bringing Hindraf to the public eye?
See, you must understand, I was a trained barrister in UK. I studied law there, and I believe in their system. So normally one would wonder, why sue the British government when the injustice is happening here?
Exactly.
Right? Okay. But normally addressing any issue, any legal issue, I go to the core of the matter. The core of the matter is, when the British left us, they brought us into the country 200 years ago, exploited us for 150 years, and left us just to fend for ourselves. So when they left the country, they left us with a constitution. But the constitution did not provide sufficient protection for the Indian community. We didn't come here voluntarily. We were brought in as indentured labourers. We were given various promises of land, for example. If you serve as a indentured labour for 2 years, you will be given 3 acres of land, and for each male offspring will be given an extra 1 acre of land at the end of the 2-year period. That was not given. Now, after 150 years, when these people were born in the estates, 4 or 5 generations, they have never stepped foot in India. They do not know how India looks like. Probably most of them in the estates did not know that Malaysia actually achieved independence. They were cut off. In 1957, things were different. Their views were not taken. They have built temples there close to 200 years. Nothing was done to protect their temples. Nothing was done to give them a land for settlement or guarantee that they will have a place in this country. Nothing was done. And they just left. And, our forefathers, there is some elite group elite Indians, yes, they were not brought in. They came on their own. Samandan probably had businesses in India. He probably, Samandan and, the elite Indian class then, who monopolized politics then, who were invited. I found that they were invited by the British government to form an alliance. So the British officials invited Samandan, invited MCA and Tunku, to discuss, because they didn't want the left groups, to take over the country. So it was kind of orchestrated. The independence was orchestrated, whereas our rights were not given. So fast track, having been a lawyer, having faced discrimination myself as a student, I was not given a place to study here. I had to go to England, work my way up. I was doing all odd jobs to sustain myself. Coming back, again, I didn't really feel it. But until M. Moorthy happened, it opened up my eyes. And then one after another, things came to my attention, the demolition of temples and whatever not. So when I went to the root cause of it and analyzed what actually transpired, what happened to the Indian community, why are we in this state, I realized that our rights are not guaranteed in the Constitution. So the Barisan Nasional, UMNO, that took over. UMNO then was different. When they took over, they continued the policy of exploitation by the British. They exploited the Indians, And then in the 70s, when rubber prices fell, they started acquiring the estates. Companies were Guthrie and Saib Dami were selling off large chunks of land, and the people became displaced. And study has shown that from 1970s onwards, right up to year 2000, 800,000 Indians were displaced. Now, at that point of time, probably our population was 1.7 million, and 800,000 people are displaced. Almost half the population are displaced. Now, the United Nations guidelines are very clear on what to do with displaced community. People normally become displaced because of natural calamity, war. We didn't have war. We didn't have natural calamity. We were ordinary, hardworking Indians in the estates. And overnight, we were kicked out from the plantations. Where do we go? No housing, no alternative land, no alternative jobs, nothing, So the people built houses in the fringes of the cities, They were called rumah stinggan, rumah haram and all that, And many people from the estates were stateless. Their issues were not addressed. And, until they were in the estates, the issue of stateless did not come up. But when they moved to the cities, and then the issue comes up because the children can't go to school. In the estates, they went to the Tamil schools. But in the cities, they can't go to schools. They can't get a job. They can't register themselves with EPF and SOCSO. They can't get a license, motorbike license. So these issues are very serious issues that should have been addressed right from the beginning. So not only did the British neglect us, the government also neglected us. So going back to the core of the issue, I thought the best way, because these people here are not going to. When I filed the suit against the United Kingdom government, by then I would have sent almost 200 memorandums to the then Prime Minister Abdullah Badawi with regards to temple demolition, education, you name it. Nothing was, no response, from them. So I decided to sue the British government, not only to draw attention, but to actually hold them accountable. Whether I get compensation, I didn't know. I didn't calculate the $4 trillion that you mentioned. It so happened that I filed the suit, and then after that, I went to Washington to have, because certain meetings were arranged with the Foreign Affairs Committee. So I met a journalist there, a Malaysian journalist, and he interviewed me. And that night, he asked me, well, I did say in my suit that I'm seeking £1 million for each and every Malaysian citizen. For each and every Indian. Malaysian of Indian origin. And, he took a calculator. Then, those days, I don't know, he couldn't get the figure. He said, it's okay, never mind, I'll get it to the internet. And then he reported it was $4 trillion. I didn't know, I didn't,
But when I saw that suit, and now at this point in my life, I always wonder, as you rightfully say, yes, the problem started from the beginning. But one cannot deny that the problems were then continued by the ruling class after that, which is the BN government. Yeah. So why have you not taken a similar stance? Why have you not then sued BN and even MIC for their misadventures in handling the future of the Indian community from the start?
I have to take one at a time. You must understand, in 2007, I was alone. I mentioned in 2005, early 2005, I gave a memorandum to the Agong. I was alone, I just had a number of my friends with me, and then eventually my brother joined me, and two other lawyers also were taking up cases of Hindu temple demolition. So probably less than 10 of us. With the limited energy that we have, that was what I could do in 2007. And 2007 was a year meaningful to us, 50 years of independence. It was meaningful, and I thought, British should be accountable then, I filed. Many people thought, I was not serious. I was serious because it's pure negligence by the British government. And subsequently, I have pulled out various documents which are still classified. Many of those documents are still classified in Malaysia, but probably 3/4 of the documents have been declassified in UK. I've pulled out documents. I have probably about 50,000 documents. And out of that, I got ample evidence to show they knew exactly what they were doing. And they knew exactly what would happen to the Indian community. And it was warned during the presentation of the Federation of Malaya Independence Act at the UK Parliament. There were a number of MPs who raised the issue of the Indian community. That many of them are stateless. They do not have voting powers. They are disenfranchised society. They do not have voting strength. Can you imagine, today we have 2.3 million Indians, but what is our vote worth? We don't even have a single parliamentary constituency. So there is no way you can say that we are politically represented. No, it is a compromise.
It is. So who do you think who should we point fingers to in terms of who screwed up in managing our community after independence?
After independence, the government was responsible.
BN.
No doubt.
Okay.
Because BN ruled right up to 6 years, right? So they were responsible. In the BN coalition, we have a party, MIC, which is supposed to represent the Indian community. BN was a very nice setup, UMNO for Malays, MCA for Chinese, and MIC for Indians. Well, it sounds good,
Yeah.
But MIC from day one, from 1957, had failed to protect the rights of the Indian community, right from Samandan to Manikavasagam and subsequent, leaders. All of them failed us. They knew exactly in the 70s people were being displaced. Nothing was said. Nothing was done for them.
No, the interesting thing when I hear you speak is it reminds me just how strong a force Hindraf was at that time. But people, you could say now that it sort of has splintered, right? MAP is, I think, the third faction to form from the initial people. In fact, initially, the strong pillars of Hindraf were your brother, Mr. Udaya Kumar, and then you had Manoharan, and of course, the YB Ganapati and Mr. Vasanta Kumar, and of course, yourself.
Gengadharan.
Yeah, Gengadharan. And, but after that whole incident of the passing of memorandum, after you get arrested, then the time comes when sort of several were cast out. It was sort of from these people, then it became you and your brother, then it became just you. Why was there a need to break Hindraf up?
No, let me put it in the right perspective.
Yeah.
It was not them, and then after that, me and my brother broke off. No. It was us. I started Hindraf, and then eventually my brother joined, and then Manoharan and Ganga joined us. Now, from my understanding, at that point of time, Gengadharan was with MIC. He's an ordinary MIC member. Manoharan was a politician. He was the former Selangor DAP chairman.
Yes.
But he was assisting us to do the legal work. My brother was in Police Watch, and subsequently he formed his party before
The Human Rights Party, if I'm not mistaken.
No. That was before that. He had another pro tem. It was not approved.
Okay.
Yeah. But we joined hands. I didn't know Ganapati Rao. I didn't know Vasanta Kumar then. And then we went on a roadshow. After filing the case, we went on a roadshow. When we went on a roadshow, that was when Ganapati Rao approached my brother, and my brother, discussed with me. We said, okay, fine, well, let him take. He's a lawyer, and let us take him on board. And Waytha Kumar was just an ordinary person helping my brother. He's not a professional, but he was helping my brother with certain tasks, and that's how But the road shows, the civil suits were all the main decision makers were my brother and myself, assisted by Genga and Manoharan. But eventually, when they arrested the five, at the point of arrest, I was in UK. When they arrested the five, it was the police who actually declared 5 Hindraf leaders. Until then, there was no such thing as 5 Hindraf leaders. The police declared 5 Hindraf leaders. And so it became a norm, 5 Hindraf leaders. Now, naturally, Hindraf became famous overnight. We didn't know. You mentioned 10,000. It's not 10,000 because Al Jazeera reported tens of thousands of people were at KLCC. Tens of thousands of people were at KLCC.
Wow.
And then there were many people who were stranded in Dataran, in Sentul, in Jalampang, Kampung Baru, who were not able to come because KL for the first time was caught on 3 days before. There was a lockdown of KL 3 days before the rally, not even during Birse, but 2 weeks later in Hindraf rally, KL was locked down. So taking everyone into consideration, we believe, in fact, the police agreed the following day that there were about 100,000 people who gathered.
100,000?
100,000
wow.
people. But somehow or other, the media picked up 10,000 and, certain online reported 10,000. But if you note the Al Jazeera report, it says tens of thousands of people at KLCC.
Wow.
So
I don't think any other Indian party has been able to do that.
No one. In fact, when I was in exile in England, a friend of mine mentioned that ours is the largest Indian Hindu gathering out of India. Even Gandhi didn't have that many in South Africa apparently. I don't know. I don't know. That's what he mentioned. But yes. Anyway, I'm not interested by the crowd. Of course, fine. It's good to have the crowd, but ultimately, we must be focused on what we intended. What was our intention, and what were we trying to prove ourselves when we came to the streets that day? That is important. But I don't know whether you know, but on the day I was arrested, I was behind bars. You know that. Okay, fine.
They came to your office, I think.
They arrested me, my brother, and Ganapati Rao for sedition. And I wanted to send a clear message to the police as well as the people that we do not fear their prison. And I went on a voluntary. And I went on hunger strike and voluntary. I didn't take bail. Okay. And at that point of time, my brother asked me, and I said, look, to be honest, people do not know me then. Not many people, only the people who, we didn't have social media like what we have today, right? Correct. There was no WhatsApp then, I didn't even have a Facebook then. Facebook was new, only through SMS. So people do not know how I look. But I told my brother, look, people know you because you have been in police watch for a long time. You've been fighting for those, Indians who are shot dead and die in custody. People know you. It's okay. It doesn't matter, But the point is, we want to send a clear message to the people that our gathering is peaceful and that we do not fear their prison. So that is the message we are sending. And to the government, we are sending, look, you can do whatever you want. We are not scared of your prison. I can come voluntarily. You don't have to arrest me. You understand? So that was the message. And I think people got the messaging correctly, so much so that they went bought Gandhi's picture. I was told that in Labo Ampang, Gandhi's picture ran out, and somebody went to a printer and got it printed, Gandhi's picture printed, and a printer with the name Hindraf. That's why you see Hindraf with Gandhi's picture all around. So they got, we didn't organize this. All those banners, we didn't organize. People came with their own imagination because they attended our road shows. We had a nationwide road show, and they understood what we were trying to do. And they came with their own banners and showed their feeling on that day.
This is just a thought in my head. That was a very interesting time in Malaysian politics. That was, I think, I would say the top. And
yes.
If you compare now, it's nothing. It's what is it about Hindraf that could capture this sort of support? Because while you're talking, in my mind, I'm thinking, can this ever happen again? Can we ever see another party, or hopefully the whole revival of Hindraf, but I don't think that will happen. But in the future, can we ever see a party that can rally that support? Because that, I think, made you a very dangerous man. I remember that scene from Malcolm X, the movie. I don't know whether you've seen that movie, where he just points the finger and all his people just leave. And then the policeman infamously says this, no one man should have this much power. Why Hindraf could do this and no other party could do it?
And that also answers your question, why Hindraf was broken.
Exactly, yeah.
That answers your question.
Yeah.
Because we became powerful. A person unknown, my name is not known. People
But
just
to be
know.
fair, you were known, sir. I knew you. I was
you would have
Hindraf
heard,
and you were like...
No, you would have heard my name because reading somewhere, we didn't have, the only online portal then was Malaysia Guinea, subscription, not many people subscribe to it. You would have read my name somewhere, you would have read my petitions, my name, but you wouldn't have been able to put a face to me then. Okay? So, within a short space of time, between August 30th, 2007 to November 25th, we became a giant.
Yeah, huge.
Right? Huge. So that was something that the police and the government could not take. Because for them, they have always used the Indians, or they have always treated the Indians as slaves. I'm blunt about it. They've always looked at the Indians as slaves, dirts, who are only fit to do menial jobs, labor jobs. But when this society rose against the administration of the government, not fearful of the IRS, not fearful of anything, rallying behind a number of lawyers, committed lawyers, all right? That is something that the establishment could not accept. So guess what they will do? First thing they will do is to break us up. And while I was in UK, my brother was here, so they arrested some people who are also not really active. They arrested and made us 5 leaders and then broke us within. In the prison, they were broken, right? And then when they were released, of course, Ganapathy Rao he was an ordinary member of DAP, who were not even in a major position. But he was given recognition. Manogaran was already a controversial figure in DAP. He won the seat in the 2008 contest without even campaigning. But he was only given 1 term because Manogaran probably is a bit eccentric, So DAP doesn't want him, But Ganapathy Rao was accepted, and they wrote on him and said, he's a Hindraf leader and he's with us, Gangadharan kept away, We went in without politics in our mind, I went in without politics in my mind. For me, it is not my job. My job is to raise the issue, put in sufficient pressure, and then when it went to that level, then of course we go one step further. 3 months down the line, after the rally was the elections. So since they arrested our people, I said, no, nothing doing. Since you arrested our people, we were fighting a legitimate cause. Instead of doing what is right, you put us behind bars, I'm going to come after you. And thousands of miles away, I campaigned, and I made sure each and every Indian turned themselves into an election campaigner. And we mobilized the people to campaign for opposition en bloc, including PAS. That's why you would have seen at that point of time, Indians were wearing PAS shirts and waving PAS flags and all that. And at some point of time before that, they asked me, sir, how about PAS? Do we still campaign for them? I said, yeah, doesn't matter. They are Islamic party, doesn't matter. Let's campaign. Let's bring down Barisan. And we almost brought them down. But that was the beginning, right? But eventually they came down.
Then it's interesting you say that, because then we start a very interesting time in your career as a politician. One that I think a lot of people have many opinions on. So I'll go with the start, where in 2008, you did a nationwide campaign against BN.
Yes.
And which, in fact, many people say that is one of the reasons why in 2008 they lost that bet, because of your campaign.
Yes.
But then before G13, Hindraf decides to join BN. Not join, but become a partner. Support BN. And you guys signed an MOU. And the reason being that because of a 5-year plan. So at that point, maybe you must have known that this would have impacted, this move would impact your credibility, the way you're viewed by the people.
I knew exactly what I was doing.
But why do it, maybe? Why?
Okay, let me explain to you. See, the experience we gained. Post Hindraf rally, 3 months later, elections, you heard me saying just now, we campaigned for them. When they won big, when they won big, they made a lot of promises to us. But when they won big, they didn't move the agenda of getting the 5 leaders released.
This is PH or BN?
At that point of time,
2008 was PH.
You must understand one thing. Pakatan Harapan was not a formal coalition in 2008 elections. Post-elections, when they won big, they decided to form a coalition. They called Pakatan Rakyat
back then.
Much later.
Yeah.
So we were the cause of Pakatan Rakyat, actually. They were not united as a force. They realized that they won big and they have to come in. Sorry, I'll say that again.
No, yeah.
They realized
Even
that
God agrees with you.
they realized that they won big, and so they had to come in as a coalition. I asked for Anwar Ibrahim to put in a motion, emergency motion, for the release of the 5. Obviously, we know the motion will not be allowed. And I asked that the opposition members do a walkout. He refused. That was my first indication. And then, about a year later, was the biggest slap on our face when Kampung Buah Pala issue came up in Penang. That is an heritage village more than 100 years. Okay, Penang won, and during the election, Anwar promised the Indian community, and he tapped an old man. The video is still out there. Kalau kita menang ini election, 2 minggu ini kampung kita bagi sama ayah. And people were clapping. Sebab apa? Chief Minister gang kita, ini gang kita, 2 minggu kita bagi. People were happy. And when they won, they actually transferred the land to the developers. And who are the developers? UMNO companies. So we felt betrayed. The very people we put in power, yes, the deal took place during Gerakan time. Yes, but Gerakan didn't kick out the people. They were holding on to the issue for many years because they wanted to find an amicable solution. The point is clear. It is a land grab. That kampung is sitting in a prime land. All right? The people there own more than an acre. Some of them had 3/4 acre and all that land there. Okay, it was given to them on trust by the Brown family. Penang government was holding it on trust. But when you go and do a land search, you won't find the history of the land. That is the real estate. Because you know why? Because people in the land office have, were tampered with the documents. You can't find the history of the land. But the point remains, it's a land held on trust for the people. How can you sell a land held on trust for the people? This was done by the Gerakan government, and it was continued during the DAP government. We questioned the DAP government. We questioned Guan Eng. Guan Eng didn't like it. Now, if you buy a house, it's 3+1 agreement, right? You don't pay within the additional 1 month, 4 months. If you don't pay within the 4 months, your contract becomes null and void. Your deposit is forfeited, right?
Yes.
In this case, Nus Metro paid the deposit 10%, and it has been many years. They didn't pay the remaining money. But when Guan Eng came, he took the remaining money and he transferred the property. So for me, it is a betrayal of the Indian community. Anybody who betrays my community, I'll come after them. Doesn't matter, I supported you. But if you do wrong, I'll come after you. That is my principle. I don't place importance on what others think. So that was an eye-opener to me. So second eye-opener. Subsequently, all the issues that Hindraf were fighting for, land for temples, land for Tamil schools. Now we made proposals. Now we have 5 states. Okay, forget about Kelantan, forget about Terengganu. The remaining 3 states, Penang, Selangor, and Perak.
Perak at that time,
okay,
yeah.
At that time.
After they switched, before they
We came with a proposal. Now, one of the reasons why temples are not are demolished is because they say the temples belong to the state government or whatever, or sitting in the state government land. Okay. So now that the state government is yours, you can acquire the land or you can convert the temple into a place of worship and formally gazette it. Why refuse to do it? Now it's our government, right? People were happy. Our government are sitting, our EXCO guys are sitting there, our Indian leaders are sitting there. Now is the time to do it. Now is the time to give land to the temples. The estate temples are not fully aided schools because they belong to the estates. So the state government can acquire from the estate management and submit to the federal government for the school to be made fully aided. That's the solution. But they refuse to do this. Third, So the list goes on. Stateless issue. List goes on. So I realized, hey, you know what? All politicians are the same. I felt betrayed, and I was in exile. And I said nothing doing. Next election I'm coming back. I came back with or without. I don't know whether you remember. The government revoked my passport, and I declared I'm coming into the country on the 1st August with or without my passport. And the government knows. The government knew then. Yeah. I will make it into the country, and I could enter up to Singapore. My travel document. I was given political asylum by the UK government, the government that I sued. and I could come to Singapore, and they decided to give me the passport because they knew it will be embarrassment if I still come into the country on the 1st of August. They gave me my passport. I came in, and then 1 year before elections, I went around another roadshow. No, you said people were they're mixed views because the elite look at it differently. But I represent the grassroots. So I went around the whole country to the grassroots. All my roadshows are all recorded. We have evidence till today. And I said, look, we have come with a solution. We have come with a plan for the Indian community. And this is the plan we are going to give to Barisan and Pakatan. We have had enough of these politicians giving us a runaround, cheating us. And this is the plan. People agreed. And I said, we'll give to both. And we gave it to Pakatan Harapan first. We had 22 meetings, if I'm not mistaken, with Pakatan. I met Anwar Ibrahim. I met, they call it the Presidential Council. And guess what? During the presidential, probably on the 20th meeting, PAS was represented by the Secretary General, Mustafa Ali. You know what PAS said, interestingly? He said, we have read through the documents. And in Islam, if we do not give in to your demands, it is dosa. That is from PAS. DAP said, we got no issue. But PKR said, it's a racist document. All right? So now what do? After 22 meetings, you fail. And then I decided, okay, fine, I'll do one more. I went on a hunger strike to make people understand that we are not here for political reasons. We are here genuinely wanting the people to get what they deserve naturally, what they should deserve naturally. Going on a hunger strike for 21 days was not easy. But the messaging out there was very clear.
You were even hospitalized?
No, at the end of it, at the end of the 21 days. And seeing how serious we were, Najib sent his people and say, why don't you engage us? Come on, you are going on a hunger strike, give us a chance. So we sent our delegation, talk to him. And while in the interim, we are also talking to them. Look, they are engaging us. What do you want to do? And Najib said, fine, I can't give you everything. We had 6 main demands. He said, he insisted, I have to give in 2. One is Malaysia signing all international human rights conventions, remaining human rights convention. And the second is the implementation of IPCMC. He said our issue is to do with displacement of our estates, education, socio-economic upliftment, and temple issues, okay? Job opportunities, business opportunities, etc. Economic issues that he said we can address. And we put in a budget of 4.5 billion. We put in a budget for 4.5 billion. And he said, no, we are the experts. We are running the country. We know how to assess it. Probably your assessment is wrong. He said, let's not quantify it. Let's identify the issues. Let's agree that these are the things the government will do. And then in return, we will quantify it later. Then at that point of time, I insisted. I said, look, if you agree to do this, then you can't give it to MIC because they failed us for so many years. It has to be given to us. And I said in the elections, I want to contest. If you are really serious, give me a seat, let me contest. He said, no, it's too late in the day. He agreed to make me a senator and appoint me a deputy minister. Even though I asked for a full minister, he said, no, we can't give you immediately. We'll make you a deputy minister. You'll be under me. You'll be directly answerable to me. You can come and see me at any time. You'll be within my office. And we will work together. And I felt he was genuine. He was serious with it. And we still continued. There were 2 teams, 2 negotiation teams, one for Barisan and one for Pakatan. And the Pakatan guys told them. And they thought we were just fooling them around. And when we signed the deal, immediately, all the Indian leaders and the Malay and Chinese leaders in Pakatan turned me as a betrayer of the Indian community. What did I betray? Now tell me, is getting the right of the Indian community a betrayal? Their propaganda was huge. They burned my effigies and all that. People didn't understand because there was no, as I said, there's no WhatsApp. WhatsApp was just the beginning then. People didn't know about the existence of WhatsApp. Messages were not going, our messages were not going fast enough, So a lot of misinformation were fed to the people by Pakatan Harapan, demonizing me as a betrayer of the Indian community and all that. My dear friend Ganabara was also involved in burning one of my effigy. You understand what I mean? But today, in the last general elections, how come they could all shake hands? The very people who said, Pencuri, didn't Anwar sing a song, Pencuri, Oya Hoi and all that? A beautiful song, Pencuri, Penyanga and all that. And then midnight on the day, they go and shake hands and say, let's form a government. And all the Indian leaders now in Pakatan, DAP and PKR and whatever not, they all are together with MIC now. At that one time, they said MIC drogi, meaning, MIC is a betrayer of the Indian community and all that. Don't trust them. Today, they're all flying together in a private jet and, eating together and laughing together and, sharing politics. Yeah. So you tell me, as I said, you rightly pointed out that there are differing views. People look at it differently. The elite will look at it differently, but the grassroots look at it differently. But grassroots understand. I tried my level best. I was there for 8 months, But Najib, I'm sure he had issues with the MIC because MIC was not agreeable to giving the entire portfolio to me. The unit was promised then. Unit was promised in the agreement, in the memorandum of understanding. Very clearly we mentioned, today we have Mitra because of our MOU. Mitra didn't just surface like that because of Najib's goodwill. No. It was in the MOU that a special unit will be set up to look after the Indian affairs with all the details spelled out. When I was pushing Najib, he didn't, he was reluctant. He was pushing and delaying because he had pressure on him. He didn't know how to handle MIC. Imagine single-handedly, if I go in and given to me, if I had done it, MIC will become irrelevant overnight. So MIC...
As opposed to what they are now, irrelevant still.
Yeah. MIC was hell-bent to defeat me in not allowing Najib to fulfill his promises. And I told Najib, I said, look, if this is how it's going to be, on the 5th month, I told him, he said, no, give me a bit more time. And then subsequently, a further 3 months, I said, no, beyond this, I can't wait anymore because I have given word to the people. I've taken a lot of reps because of you. I said, no, beyond this, I can't stay. I have to go. But when I left, I told his secretary, I said, for the first 100 days, I will not utter a word. Apart from a statement, official statement, for the first 100 days, I will not utter a word. But after that, I'll come after him.
Interestingly enough, then you are part of, I wouldn't say you are part of it, but you were part of the whole structure during the GE13.
Yeah.
Right? You were then. And at that time, of course, BN won. But G13 stands out among every other election as being known as the blackout elections, right? Where after all the ballots were counted, people like Anwar Ibrahim, people from Bersih, protested the entire results, calling it a fraudulent results and all that kind of stuff. After seeing this, now in retrospect, do you think that at that point in time when you were there, I'm sure you heard all of this news about the election results and the whole blackout and all that, did you still feel at that point that this was the right team to choose?
No, there was no right team. Put it this way. At that point of time, 2013, I'm not saying Najib was the right team or Pakatan. There was only two choices, either Pakatan or Barisan. Both were not the right choice. But coming from a minority community, what do you do to ensure your community get what they deserve? Because all the while, for 50 over years, politicians have been ding-donging with them, playing games with them. Politicians have been there monopolizing or hanging on to positions for their own selfish reasons, whereas the community was neglected. So I am in a position where I promise the people that I will bring change. I want real change. At that point of time, if you realize, I didn't form a political party. I was still Hindraf, right? As a human rights organization, as a people's movement, these are the rights that I want. I don't care whether it's you. But they are both devils. That's why I said, somebody misquoted me. In Tamil, I said, Ravana andalum, Naragasura andalum onnu. Meaning, Ravana and Naragasura are equally bad. That was what. But somebody prominent said, oh, how can he say Raman and how can he compare Raman and Ravanan? I didn't say that. I said Ravanan and Naragasura, both are equally bad. Both are equally bad. You have to strike a deal with the devil. Which devil you choose? The devil that is willing to give what you want. Whereas this devil, known devil, doesn't want to give you anything, despite you helping him so much. The unknown devil says, it's okay, never mind, I'll give it to you. Believe me, I'll give it to you. Fine, I believed you. You have to trust somebody, right? So I believed you. In all earnestness, I believed him.
And then after that, of course, very soon after, you then resign as Deputy Minister as well as Senator. Why?
I resigned because Najib didn't keep up to his promises. He promised to give me the unit, he promised to give me the budget, and he promised that the entire system will be set up for me to undertake the projects to assist the socio-economic development of society. But he didn't keep up. I resigned. But as I said earlier, I gave him 100 days. I told his secretary, I'm giving him 100 days. But within the 100 days, he formed SEDIC. He knew what I was going to do. He knows me by then because we had many chats. He quickly formed SEDIC. One good thing he did was he didn't give it to MIC. He appointed a retired professor to head the unit.
NS Rajendran, right?
Yeah. And unfortunately, MIC monopolized the whole thing. And again, during Najib's time, that 4 years, whatever that was, for the first time, when the unit was set up, for the first time, an allocation was 100,000 was made. When I asked for 2.4 billion, but he gave 100 million. Okay, fine, it's a good start, never mind. But during NS Rajendran's time, where the money went, nobody knew because MIC was still involved. Subsequently, in 2018, when I took over, when Tun Mahathir gave me the portfolio, when I looked at it, there's no records. Where the money went, I said, okay, fine, I'm not going to question all that. Let's start afresh. Let's reset the button. We change it into Mitra. We overhauled the entire system. We created a new system, a transparent system, a 5-tier approval system. Where any projects doesn't go through individuals, doesn't go through politicians. No, it goes through the system, where civil servants will vet and ensure that these programs are worth for the community and are meant to uplift the socio-economic condition of the community.
Now, before we get into the next phase then, after this, of course, you famously then go back to PH. But before that, I just want to get your opinion on one thing. I've had several guests on. Most notably is the recent one I had, Mr. Roman Bose, who's the author of the book Shattered Hopes, as well as Dato Karunathan, who's the ex-MOE Deputy Minister, both of whom speak highly of Dato Sri Najib. What is your opinion? Are they right? Did he have the interests of the Indians in his mind when he was ruling?
To be fair to Dato Najib, I think he was sympathetic towards the Indian community. Probably he didn't understand much earlier. Same with Tun Mahathir also. He didn't know. But when I explained to Najib, just like how I explained to Tun Mahathir also understood. So likewise, Najib understood. He didn't know many things. When I explained to him about the displaced community and all that, he was kind of, he was lost. He said, these things never came to him. He never knew such things existed. And he was genuinely sympathetic, no doubt about it, But for me, promise is a promise. You made a promise to me personally, all right? And when I asked you, you said, no, your party is agreeable. As a leader of the party, my party will back me up. Barisan will back me up. And then you can't give me a reason. I can put 2 and 2 together and figure out what is causing the delay or what is his reluctance. But he didn't say it, but I made it out myself. But he didn't want to commit. I wanted a timeline. Okay, fine, it's already 8 months. When? I can't go on forever, So promise is a promise. If you are not going to do, probably, this is what I suspect, which I told many Indians, probably MIC would have told him, look, after all, he's another Indian. He's already in the position of senator. He's got a fat salary as a deputy minister. He's got a driver. He's got a bodyguard. He's got everything. Just leave him for a while. He'll get comfortable. Probably Najib thought, yeah, these guys might be right. He might be comfortable after some time, and then, he'll play ball with me. He chose the wrong guy.
I never thought about that angle, but that's so true. I think a lot of people get very comfortable after.
Tell me one Indian who has resigned the position.
Besides Tun Mahathir, I think no one. No one actually. No one that I remember. Am I right? Am I wrong?
I think that was Zaid. No, Indians. No Indians resigned.
Indians.
That was Zaid resigned. Zaid Amidi.
Zaid Amidi.
Sorry. I beg your pardon. Zaid
Zaid-
Ibrahim resigned.
Zaid Ibrahim, the lawyer,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, so then now, sir, after this you joined BN. You joined PH. After BN, then you work together with PH again. This sort of starts your second phase in the government. This was very important during 2018, which was the elections that brought hope to the country, right?
Yeah.
Now, when you joined BN, there was a 5-year plan promised to you.
Yes.
When you joined PH, what was promised to you, Hindraf, and the Indian community that made you say, okay, now let's work together?
See, PH was in a unique position then. Okay. See, the reality is this. Hindraf controls 45% to 48% of the Indian voters. That is proven. In 2000, let me give you some figures.
Please.
Prior to 2008, 90% of Indians voted Barisan all throughout. Samuelu was so proud to say it's fixed deposit. But when Hindraf did its campaign in that 3 months, all right, it went the other way around. 90% of Indians supported opposition. And seeing the Indian wave, the Chinese too moved. Okay. In 2013, when I supported Najib had 45% of the. So from 10%, his vote increased from 10% to 45%. So there was an additional 35%. In 2018, when I backed Mahathir, he got 88%. So from 55%, it went up to 88%. So you can give you can calculate. That's my figure. Now, PH in 2018 was in a unique position because its leader, Anwar Ibrahim, was behind bars. The leader then was Wan Aziza. Wan Aziza on her own could not win the elections in 2018. Things happened in UMNO. Mahathir left, Muhyiddin left, they formed Bersatu, and then they realized they can't go on their own. They struck a deal with Pakatan Harapan. They became partners. Bersatu was not a registered party, so they struck a deal to go on a common logo. And Mahathir was made the chairman of the pact, chairman. And he was the Prime Minister figure. Whatever said and done, this country will only accept a Malay Muslim leader. Anwar was not seen, or Anwar is not seen as a Malay Muslim leader, nor is Wan Aziza. So when Mahathir came here, and then with his campaign on 1MDB and whatever not, there was a movement. But he realized that he needed the Indian support. Okay, and some colleagues, some of my friends from who became my friends from UMNO also left, and they started engaging me and said, "Why don't you come and meet Tun and speak to him?" And I said, "Okay, fine." So and there was another blogger who also initiated the discussion, and I met Tun Mahathir on 2 occasions. Both occasions, he had a lot of doubts, why I joined Barisan and then left. And I told him what happened, and he understood. And he understood what I could do. He's well informed. One thing with him, he's a well informed person. He knows exactly what I'm capable of doing. And he asked me to help him. I said, well, this time around we need to contest. We are not a political party, but we need to contest. And I need to be in the cabinet. He said, okay, fine, we will talk to the Pakatan Harapan. And he spoke to Pakatan Harapan. PKR was not willing to concede not even a single seat. And during the same time, I was also talking to DAP leaders. I spoke to Anthony Lok. I spoke to, I can't get his name now. I spoke to Kit Siang. At some point of time, Kit Siang said, well, we may consider Cameron Highlands for you. I said, fine, doesn't matter. It's a loser seat. Never mind. But ultimately, none of them wanted to concede a single seat. Apparently, it's instruction from Anwar Ibrahim. Okay, so Tun Mahathir was disappointed. He told me frankly, he said, "Look, I tried my level best. I'm unable to secure a seat for you." Anyway, he said, "I will appreciate if you continue with your campaign, continue helping us. If I become a Prime Minister, if we win and I become the Prime Minister, I'll appoint you to the Senate again and I'll make you a minister." And that man kept his word. And we went all out. We never, we never complained that we were not given seats. We continued with our momentum and, we delivered the Indian votes. And he kept his word.
Now, at that time, then, when you become minister, you sort of make history as well. You are the first NGO leader to become a full-fledged minister. That's amazing, and that's history. I think you're the only one in history. No one else has done it. But of course, there was this moment where, again, you caught controversy consistently, sir. I have to say.
Yes.
It was about the 6 treaties. That this was when you were the Minister of the National Unity and Social Wellbeing, where it involved the entire ICERD, or the International Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Racial Discrimination. Now, of course, this is just one of the treaties. There were 5 others, but I guess the ICERD was the one that really drew a lot of attention to you. Back then, Dato' Saifuddin blamed you for it. Now he's being blamed for it. So I don't know who's the one who's championing it. But anyway, you were involved. And you were the face for all the criticism about it, right? Now, before we get into this ICERD matter, can you just explain to us, to just refresh our memory, what exactly is ICERD all about, and what would it have meant for Malaysia to actually ratify it?
ICERD is an international convention on elimination of all forms of racism and racial discrimination. Now, we Malaysians are always spooked with, race and religion, okay? On one side, the Malays feel that their special position under Article 153 has to be protected. On the other side, the non-Malays feel that that has caused racial discrimination. These are facts, bare facts. Whereas if we understand Article 153 in totality, you will understand that Article 153 very clearly says that it does not It is not meant to discriminate upon the non-Malays. It is not meant to discriminate. It is meant to give advantages to the Malay community who are backward. That is 153. Now, many countries with affirmative action policies have ratified ICERD with reservations. So Malaysia could have done that. In any event, I was caught in the crossfire. I became a victim. I would say I became a victim. Now, this is what happened. Tun Mahathir delivered his address in New York, his annual, as a leader of the country. He delivered his speech. And in his speech, he said that Malaysia would ratify all remaining conventions. Right? He said that. At that point of time, the foreign minister was Saifuddin Abdullah. Saifuddin Abdullah was a person who I would say, advocated signing of for the remaining convention. You must understand, Saifuddin Abdullah was from PKR. And in PKR manifesto in 2018, Pakatan manifesto, the fact that Pakatan will ratify all remaining convention was there. It was Pakatan manifesto. It was not my agenda. It was Pakatan manifesto. And Saifuddin Abdullah kept to his part of the bargain, and he insisted that it should be ratified. And he must have discussed with the Prime Minister, because before going, there were discussions in the cabinet. But of course, speeches, we are not privy to the speeches, but Tun delivered the speech. When Tun delivered speech, Parliament was in session, questions were raised in Parliament. When questions were raised in Parliament, I'm the only minister from the
IT department.
The minister. There were two ministers. One is law minister, I'm in charge of Unity and Agama Minister. Law Minister was not around at that time to answer the question. It so happened that I answered the question. I was given the task to answer the question. Look, I was given the script. These are all the details about ICERD. Please answer. And I answered the question and I became a victim. You know what happened in Parliament after that. Yes.
The videos are still there.
Yeah, I know. So and then what is unfair is last year, or rather before the last elections, Anwar Ibrahim accused me, dear Yambawa, I said, when Zahid Hamidi came to my house for Deepavali, immediately they became, upset about it because they knew they were not going to get the Indian voters. So he said, oh, itu Zahid Hamidi, dia kawan dengan Waytha Moorthy, dia yang bawa ICERD dulu. Can you see? And he's our Prime Minister today. And look, how can you lie to the people like that? I should have sued him for defamation, but I didn't.
Now, and then of course I want to be careful here because you have publicly said that you were not the one spearheading it, but you were involved in it. This entire ICERD.
No, I was involved in answering the question in Parliament because both Saifuddin was supposed to answer after PM. Saifuddin, because the whole project is by the Foreign Affairs Ministry.
Okay.
It's so because Tun answered the question, so the question was posed to the PM's department, and I was only minister available. My job was to answer the question.
But however, sir, you have to admit that this made you public enemy number one.
Yes.
There were rallies, muftis were going demanding a resignation, so on and so forth, right?
Yeah.
But so why do you think this topic of ICERD, and as you say, you were answering the question, but from the outside, the perception was you were the one championing this, right? And of course, I think the image of a non-Malay championing racial equality and all that just fuels the fire even further. But so why did you incur so much wrath to the point that you were labelled at one point as being anti-Malay and anti-Muslim?
I think it goes back in history a bit to my 2007 when the rally took place. You must understand what happened. When the rally took place, subsequent to the rally, when I left the country, the government knew, then the Barisan National government knew, they had to do something drastic to stop the rise of the Indian community. So they started terming Hindraf as a fanatical Hindu movement. They say any fanatic Hindu, number one. So Putusan, Berita Harian, the entire government machinery, fanatic Hindu. And then to justify their ICERD, they brought up the issue of, Hindraf leaders have links to the LTTE in Sri Lanka. So that spooked the Malays. One side, this guy, the leader, is a fanatical Hindu. Next, he has got connection with LTTE that takes up arms struggle.
I have to ask, do you?
I'll answer that in a while, okay? That's interesting. I would love to answer that in a while. Okay, so next, this guy is involved in what? This guy is involved in some terrorist organization. Guess what will happen in our country? So they spooked the Malay community. Anti-Melayu, anti-Islam. Dia sued the British government. Dia kata dia nak hapuskan hak orang Melayu and all that. Everything. So everything worked against me in 2007. Then in 2018, strange enough, 2014 when I supported Najib, nothing of this sort came up. Nothing. Not a single word came. But 2018 when I supported Pakatan Harapan, and Pakatan Harapan won. And Barisan couldn't accept the defeat. So naturally, it was too much for them. Being in power for 60 years, suddenly removed from power and then charged with various criminal offences, dragged to court, So they thought they had to do something to bring down this government. And I became the soft target. Okay. And when this thing came up, they made use of it and said, whatever not, And then, of course, during the same time, the Seafield temple issue came up, and then the fireman, got injured. I was blamed for his death. You understand? Yes. Strange enough, I was blamed for his death, but when the inquest came up, nobody called me.
I think Shahid Sadiq also demanded resignation because of that. Yeah.
That's silly. You know why? When the inquest came up on the death, nobody called me to give any evidence. If I am the cause of that, I will be the first one to be called. You
And then you were blamed for it.
yeah, I'm it's always the Indians are the soft target.
Okay.
Now, coming to answer your interesting question. Now, that is very interesting. Am I a terrorist? So, when I was in England, when the 5 were arrested, and the justification of the arrest was that we had links to LTTE, I was very angry. I was very angry. And throughout 2005 to 2007, before I filed the case against the British government, I sent 200 over memorandums of appeal to Pala. Subsequently, whatever happened, happened. And I'm doing international campaign, And to derail my international campaign, if they say this guy is linked to LTTE, no international leaders would want to see me. So it's two-pronged. One side, they create fear here in Malaysia that these guys are linked to LTT. On the other side, they're also trying to send a message to the international leaders not to meet me. All right? But I had a point to prove. Okay? So I carried on. I continuously met with British parliamentarians who put in early day motions in Britain. I went to US, and I met some senators, congressmen. They raised up the issues. I went to State Department. I went to Human Rights Committee. I went to Geneva. I went to Human Rights, the UN Human Rights Office in Geneva.
Okay.
I made various complaints there with evidence, So about 2 months later, in February, we organized a Rose Rally, where the first rally was 25th November. On February 12th, I think, because 14 was a work day, but 12th, I think, February 12th, 2008 was a Sunday. So I organized a Rose Rally, and I volunteered to send, because I don't want people to accuse me of sending, saying, oh, you know what, you are in exile and you're asking us to demonstrate, right? So I sent my daughter. She was probably 5 years old, less than 5. I said, I'll send my daughter as my representative for Rose Rally. We will give roses to the Prime Minister and say that, we want our 5 leaders to be released. Now, you tell me, which terrorist in the world will give roses? Which terrorist in the world will be accepted in US State Department, United Nations? So I hope that answered your question.
No, and one thing I find very shocking when you say that, and that shows just how illiterate people are about global events. LTT is not a terrorist organization. They are labeled as a freedom fighters. Number one. Number two is, if we Malaysians can support Hamas, then we should support LTT, because LTT and Hamas actually have long-standing relationships. They have fought together. So it's a surprising.
That is Malaysia.
That's Malaysia. Yes. Now, just one thing before we leave this topic. In retrospect now, do you think Malaysia would have been better off or worse if we had ratified ICERD?
I think we will be in a better position. I think we'll be in a better position. Of course, the Malays need guarantee that special privileges will not be touched. That could be secured by way of reservation. But I think, signing up to all international human rights convention is good for the country in the long run. I think it's good.
Now, another interesting that happened while you were minister was that for some strange reason, the Jabatan Kemajuan Orang Asli JAKOA was placed under your department. Why do you think that was so?
I actually approached Tun M. After he appointed me as a minister. I approached him and I said, I wanted to take care of the Indian community as well as the Orang Asli. He asked me why. I said, look, the Orang Asli has various issues, serious issues, and I understand them. To a great extent, I understand them. And I really wanted to, coming from a minority community, I understand their plight. They are even much more, smaller number than us. And I really want to do something different for them. He told me he will think about it. And then I think about a month or two later, I was told by the Rural Development Minister then that JAKOA is being transferred to my department, under my purview. And I was happy. I was honored to be given the mandate to look after Orang Asli.
It still is, right? Currently,
no. It's back after me. It was back to Rural Development Ministry. In a way, yes. Rural development, because there are roads need to be built and infrastructure and all that. Yes, but the other aspect of the Orang Asli community has been neglected. So I wanted to do something different for them, So there were certain areas that I was looking at, especially housing, water, electricity, and recognition of their religion. Now let's talk about water and electricity first. Now when Jaguar came to me, when I read their reports and their plans and all that, their plans, projects Sepadu Jalan Raya to connect all the Orang Asli kampungs and all that. Every budget has been allocated. Every year, certain budget is allocated for this program. By the time they connect all the kampung Orang Asli, it's going to take years, number one. And then there's also allocation for electricity and water. By the time they supply electricity and water to the Orang Asli, when I calculated, in my calculation, if my memory serves me right, in the next 20, 30 years, they will not all villages will get their electricity and water. And when I made field visits to Orang Asli kampungs, after hearing that a human rights lawyer and a Hindraf leader became the minister in charge of Orang Asli, many of them communicated with me, wanting me to visit their kampungs. And I visited. To my shock, when I visited, there were Tai Chi being played by the Jaguar officers who didn't want me to see the water plant. I don't want to mention name, but he was a cabinet minister for a long time. And apparently he fixed the water treatment, the plant there. And apparently the generator worked for probably 2 days. And then after that, it stopped. And when I checked it, so about 5 million spent just for 2 days. And ever since it stopped, and they do not have clean water again. Similarly with electricity, So I thought these were the major problem. Electricity and water was a major one. Let's talk about housing in a while. Major problem. So when I calculated, looking at the budget, by the time they get their water and electricity, it will be probably another 30 years. It's not going to happen. I say, look, this is not practical at all. We can't go on like this. Okay, we have to start thinking different. So I started engaging, some NGOs, because NGOs also approach me because they know my background. So they approach me, and they have many innovative programs, many innovative gadgets. Water, this guy by the name of Roberts, he uses a bicycle pump and a filter, which is, he says, it costs about 150 ringgit. And you supply one household and they can get clean water immediately. You understand? So that's one. And then there are other ways of getting water, cleaner water, other methods. And then electricity, for example. See, one of the reasons, because the forests are it gets dark at 6 o'clock, it gets dark. So children don't study, So I found even people came with some mechanisms, solar energy power, where the houses can be with 2 fluorescent lamps. Okay, the house will be bright for easily 5-6 hours, which is sufficient. If they put it on at 6 o'clock, they'll have light until midnight. Children can study, they can still do work, And then even street lights, solar powered street lights are a bit expensive, maybe about 20,000. But the house fluorescent lights will cost about 200 to 300 ringgit. That's all. So I called the Jaguar officer. I said, look, let that take place, but I want a particular budget allocated. Let's start a program, program where we can supply this innovative lighting system and water system to the houses, so that within the next 2 years, before the end of the Pakatan Harapan government, I worked out many hours with them, plan after plan after plan, many hours with them, and finally we came, okay, fine, within the next, at the end of Pakatan Harapan's term, okay, 2023 or whatever, 2022. All Orang Asli kampungs will be lighted up, and all Orang Asli kampungs will have clean water. Okay? And I said, you take out budget. So I spoke to the JPM and I said, certain budget has to be allocated per annum. And, believe me, I was given tough time by the Jaguar officers who just simply do not want these things to happen. I was surprised in the beginning, but these are the truths that needs to be told, I think. because I think they are getting kickbacks somewhere else from the, contractors or whatever. They do not want this to happen. All kind of blocks were put. Despite me, putting so much of pressure on them, they come up with all sort of excuses. They say, "Oh, we have to do perolehan, this is." I said, "Do it, do it." I called the JPM officers for a meeting. They say, "Yeah, can be done. Orang Jakwa officers work on it." They never got it moving.
Now, I would like to move on to the next, although this is a hot topic and but in the interest of time, just one thing, of course, another thing that was quite spoken about during your time was the formation of the Malaysian Advancement Party, MAP. And you formed this party while you were the Unity Minister, and you incurred some criticism from other people as well, other of your contemporaries, saying that why, as a minister or who's in charge of national unity, why are you forming an Indian party, so on and so forth. People also criticize that why does a small population need another Indian party, right? Yes. Okay. But since then, there have been more Indian parties coming up, so we'll get to that. But one thing that caught my eye was you then applied to join the PH coalition using MAP. You actually applied, but you were denied by Anwar. And the shocking thing was, in a statement that you made, you claimed that Anwar Ibrahim did say that he did not want an Indian party in his coalition. Now, I mean, this shocked me. This is sad, considering the fact that it's because of Indians also that he is PM today. We supported him from, God knows when. Does this mean that Indian voters do not have a place in Pakatan Harapan's plans for the future?
I will agree with you. I will absolutely agree with you. See, the thing is this. If I can go to a bit of background, okay? I was not interested in a political party. But I had a lengthy discussion with Tun one day, so he's a very friendly person. I mean, man of wisdom. Whatever people may say about him, I found him very friendly, and he shares a lot of his wisdom with me. And one fine day when we were talking, and he said, "You seem to be very passionate about your community. Why aren't you forming a party?" I said, "No, I'm not a politician." And then he asked me a question, "Why do you think you are not given seat?"
Because you're not president of a party.
I was stunned there. He said, "If you are serious about your community, go out there and form a party. Only when you have a party, they will take you seriously." And I took his advice. I formed the party. Well, people will say, well, there are so many parties, why another party? How can a unity minister form? That's unity minister. What? Prime Minister is supposed to be a Prime Minister for all. Why do you belong to PKR? So does it mean that if PAS at some point of time, wins majority, they can't become the Prime Minister because, they are only for Muslims? No, it's not that. That's just my portfolio, temporary portfolio. It may be a year, 2, 3, 5. I do not know, But the point is, at that point of time, I came back, I discussed with my colleagues in Hindraf, and I said, look, probably he's got a point. And then we had various discussions, brainstorming and all that. We decided, fine, if we have to do this to take our struggle at the next level, let's do it. So we form a party, okay? But you rightly pointed out, some people say, why another party? There's so many Indian parties. But you tell me one question. You answer me this. Tell me one Indian party that has fought for the Indian community in the correct perspective.
None.
Whereas we, even before we became a party, we had a plan. We had a proper plan drawn out for the Indian community, 5-year plan, long-term plan, and how to execute. We had everything with us. We have professionals with us who are good planners, who can plan. And even today, we have many professionals with us who you don't hear much, but they are here with us as a team. We are committed towards getting the downtrodden Indian community into the mainstream economy of the country. That is, our biggest mission. Because we are sidelined from the community. We are sidelined. We want to be in the mainstream economy of the country. So now, being a party, we feel that, yes, we need to contest. We have support, minimum 35% support. But now I think we have increased to about 70. I can easily say now we got 70% of the Indian support with us, simply because the Indians feel disappointed with Anwar Ibrahim. Prior to this, they looked for what, more than 15 years. He has been portraying, 15, 20 years, I think, he has been portraying himself ever since the Hindraf rally. Prior to Hindraf, he has never really spoken up about Indian rights. Okay, he was just a PKR leader, DAP, and that's about it. But after seeing the Hindraf uprising, and after seeing the massive Hindraf support, and many people wanted us to form a party, then I said, no, I'm not a party, They wanted to join a political party. Many left MIC, wanted to join. I said, we are not a political party. They joined PKR, they joined DAP. So the large number of Indian members in PKR and DAP's membership also increased. That is one side, never mind. But after that, subsequently, Anwar Ibrahim realized that, you know what, we won in 2008 because of the Indian support. So we have to, so he changed his style of talking about democracy, previously it was just reformacy. Now he talks about democracy, he talks about freedom of religion, he talks about minority rights, So Indians were spooked by his speeches, and then he goes to the Indian functions, he dances like MGR and portrays himself as the MGR, the leader, the hero of the Indian community. Fine, all that is fine. You do whatever it takes for you to get the votes. But politics. You have become the Prime Minister now. Ever since becoming Prime Minister, he has gone back to his words. Whatever promises that he has been giving the Indian community for the last 15 years, he has gone back on his word. He goes to a Pongal festival and tells the Indian community, don't ask me anything, because if I do anything for you, the Malays will get angry. Why would the Malays get angry if you help the Indian community? There's no reason. Malays, you are giving them more than what previous governments gave. You are taking care of them. Why should they get angry? Are you trying to say the Malay community are jealous of the Indian community? No. You are creating discord among the community. And then at some other point of time, he says, I'm helping the Malay community, so I hope the Indians will jangan cemburu dan marah. What is this, coming from a Prime Minister? And this is the very Prime Minister who openly admitted that Indians are the poorest in the country. And it's proven by the United Nations documents, clearly says the Indians are the poorest in the country. And you have the poorest country. And then he said, no, I will take care of all community. I'll ensure that, no more hardcore poor, Now there's a race now to say, Negeri Sembilan declared, officially we do not have hardcore poor. Then there's a race, crazy race, come on, nobody will believe that a particular state doesn't have any more hardcore poor. Nobody is believing that. You understand what I mean? Now, come on, that's very childish. For a Prime Minister to say that, it's very disappointing,
But since your sort of decline, I mean, you're not so declined, when MAP was declined before, now when we look now, several parties have also suffered the same fate. Recently, PPP was announced. I think BN came up with a statement that said that PPP is just a friend. They are not a partner. On the side of PN, Urume application was also denied. Why do you think nobody wants to play with Indian parties now?
Because they think they have monopoly over the Indian votes. That's their mistaken belief. Yes, they may. Indians wanted to give Anwar Ibrahim a chance. They've given him the chance. Today they are disappointed. Now they are aware, Now they realize, many people who opposed me in 2014 for going against Najib, now understand, many of them have apologized to me, and openly said that, I've said things about you, but now looks like these fellows, end of the day, they all get together for the sake of power. Whereas I went to Najib because I wanted the rights. And today, whatever that I signed with Najib, we have Mitra because of that. People realize that, So that is one side. On the other hand, he doesn't want to take me. Even now, I think now we are a bit open. We are not rushing into joining any coalition at the moment. MAP is not rushing into it because politics is so dynamic and now everybody is everybody's friend. Tak ada musuh lagi. Everybody is everybody's friend now. Correct. Anwar can strike a deal pass in a matter of time. Yeah. There's already word out there that, they are engaging each other and, in the next election they may be together. You never know, So what we are going to do, MAP is going to do is, now we are embarking on a campaign which we will launch on the 17th year anniversary of Hindraf Rally. We will be launching a countdown to 100 years of Merdeka. On the 50th year, we filed a suit against British government. On the 100th year anniversary, what would it be like for minority communities in this country? We are doing the countdown, launching the countdown. That is not long. 33 years down the line, probably I may not leave. You will live to see, you know. Hopefully. I may not leave, you know. I'm sure I won't leave, you know. With my age, I won't leave, you know. I don't wish to live that long either. Anyway, and now our grandchildren and great-grandchildren are going to face it. So how would it be for the Indian community coming from a minority? Today we are 7% or 6.8% of the population. We still control 60. We can make difference in 60 parliamentary seats. You know, in 33 years' time, when we celebrate 100 days of Merdeka, our population will probably be 4%. At that point of time, we may become irrelevant. Yes. Just take the Orang Asli, for example. Come on, look at Ningri, right? I didn't want to say anything because I didn't want anyone to accuse me of spoiling the Ningiri election campaign, but I'll tell you now. They are building a dam in Ningiri, which is not necessary, where all the Orang Asli kampungs will be removed. It will be, they will be moved out from their land, traditional land. 8,000 years of Orang Asli history and, various heritage sites will be destroyed just to enrich a number of people. Whether it's Barisan, Pakatan, or whatever you call it, they don't care about Orang Asli. They are minorities. You understand? And we are also facing that. Today, because we make difference in 60 parliament seats, but towards the election, they will, probably throw some crumbs. Anwar Ibrahim before 2026, he will start throwing crumbs to Indians. He will start doing this, that, and all that. Thinking that people will get excited about whatever he said. No, gone are the days. People are much more politically aware now. We want the people to be prepared for the 100th year anniversary celebration. What would be our dream? What is our dream? As a fellow citizen, as an equal citizen of the country, what is our state, our grandchildren going to be like? What are their rights going to be like? So those are the things that we are looking at. So as a party, we are preparing the people for the future. We are not interested, but today we are not interested about going into government. We are preparing the people to face the future. And if you want to face the future, then you have to correct the situation now. Your future can be corrected if you correct the situation now. Now, what was the wrong that we did previously? We kept on supporting a political party that dominated the Indian politics for almost 50 years until Hindraf came and did nothing for the community. Then we had Indian leaders recruited by DAP and Anwar Ibrahim into his parties and say, oh, look, we have Indian parties. We don't need another Indian-based party. And what are these Indian guys doing now? They are also not fighting for the actual rights of the Indian community. They are just making use of the system, the 100 million that is allocated, giving it to people, dishing out, and, oh, okay, fine, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. That's all. But what about the socio-economic upliftment of the community? Nothing is done. Nothing. What about the policies that government can formulate? Anwar can do a Bhumiputera economic policy, which is good. Now, you clearly said that Indians are the poorest. So what are you going to do to the poorest society of the country? What are the economic policies that you are going to do? How are you going to absorb them in the government system, in the various ministries that provides opportunities for the community? No. So the Indian leaders in PKR and DAP have equally failed. And Amana has failed. The Indians, look, Kota Raja has got the largest number of Indian population. Look at Matsabu as a minister for agriculture. What are the programs that he has done within his ministry that he can give to the Indians, that the Indians can participate? Nothing. So they all use the Indians for their votes. So these are the things that we are going to tell the people. Look, enough of giving your votes for free to these people and not getting anything in return. At the most, some NGOs will get funding. Your Ketua community will be given probably 10,000 ringgit to take care of you. And that's about it. End of the day, you get nothing. End of the day, your children and your grandchildren will not benefit from the development of the country. So we want to make them realize this. So we are preparing them for that.
Now, but also, and Waibi, I think I have huge respect for you and the things that you have done and achieved. But one criticism that has been thrown at you is the criticism that you are throwing at others as well, where because when you join BN and then you of course resign, saying that all the promises were not kept, and then the same thing with PH. Many whom I've spoken to have also said that what has he done for Indians? So perhaps now, because when I'm listening to you, I get a sense that perhaps we didn't know everything when all the allegations were being thrown at you. We were just reading the headlines and being caught up in that world. But if you are calling out other people for not doing anything to Indians, what have you done?
Okay, that's a fair question.
Yeah.
Okay. For a start, I said MIC didn't do anything, right? Okay. When I had the opportunity as a minister, you must understand, we were in the government, 22 months?
Yeah, 22
But
months.
my situation was shorter. My tenure was shorter, 20 months, because I came in 2 months later. I came in 2 months later, and then by the time Mitra came to me, was probably another 2 months. So I had 18 months. When I took, I said earlier, when I took away Mitra, when I took SADC, when I saw no documentation, nothing, no accountability, nothing. So I had to revamp the entire 2018. I had to revamp Mitra, make it a transparent unit of the government. Once and for all, you have to make it transparent. So we started a website. We started, creating the website and all the getting the system up and running. Getting staffs in. We were only given 20 staffs. We got the staffs in and all. So that was 2018. Came 2019. So when 2019, we started, implementing the programs. So our programs were tailored for long-term programs, not one-day course or bakery, 2-day course bakery. No. If you want to really uplift the society, you have to think about long-term programs that will benefit. So we went into high-tech courses like drone technology, AI, and then we went into coding. We went into for skills training. We went into superbike repairing. We went into deep sea welding. These are all high paying jobs. Deep sea welding, after training for about, I think, 1.5 years, if I'm not mistaken, they will be paid about 5,000 initial. With experience, 5 years, they will probably get 10,000-15,000. So similarly, superbike. There were various comments. Oh, why are you wasting money with superbike? You are spending about 20,000, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, because at the end of the completion of the course, we are giving them the tools because they can't use the ordinary motorbike tools for superbikes. We equip them, and then we give them, we teach them how to use the common app where they can advertise themselves. We teach them English language because most superbike riders speak English. If they come from Singapore, they speak English. You need to be equipped. Our boys who are not who did not excel well in studies may not be able to speak English. So we teach them English, everything all put in together. We tailor the program for them to ensure they are equipped. At the end of the 18 months, they are fully equipped. Okay, so which means a superbike earner will be getting about 6,000 to 7,000 ringgit per month. So imagine if you are just an ordinary motorbike repairer, you will come out, you will get probably 1,500, 1,800. You are just an ordinary person. The moment one person in a family gets an income of 7,000 ringgit, can you imagine? He will immediately pull his siblings.
Exactly.
His lifestyle will change. He will buy a comfortable house. His wife will be, somebody, who will be equal to him. And, immediately you will see the change in the next generation. That was our vision. So most of our programs are tailored that way. And then long-term plans, okay? And then there were accusations, he didn't finish his money. No, it's absolute nonsense.
Yeah, I want to get to that as well, yes.
He didn't. See, the thing is, now this year, after budget is passed, in November, I think before December, every other ministry will send back remaining money. It is common because I have repeatedly said this, Sadly, even Guaneng accused me of not finishing up the money. He told some Indian NGO, go and ask Waytha Moorthy, he has not finished up his money. No, all the money has been, when I became a minister, I didn't have any clue, okay, how the government system works. But I've been briefed. I attend briefings and ask for explanation. See, when we do a 1.5-year course or 2-year long-term course, and if the course is 20,000, looking at our past experience in SADC, They give out the money and then don't know what happens. The organizer of the course goes missing. Take the money and go missing. So we want accountability. So we will pay half of the money. You conduct the course at the end of the year. When it comes to second year, we'll give you the remaining. So in that way, we can do check and balance. We can check whether they are doing their job. So when I asked the JPM said it's common, doesn't matter. That money is allocated for. So end of the day, end of the year, you have to send back to the finance ministry. When the following year comes in, a fresh 100 million will be allocated. But you can use the money that is parked in the system to pay off your previous year programs. So which means your money is not wasted. It's not that unspent money. No, it's wrong to say the money is unspent. The money is allocated for. That is the term they use. The money has been allocated for. It is there in the finance ministry. When the new year comes in, you can take that money and disperse the money. There's no issue about it. So there was no issue that I did not use my money for 2019. As I said, 2018 was set up. 2019, there's no issue because I used up the money. Not only that, looking at the Malaysia plan and looking at the previous years, there was still unused money in the previous years. It is in the ceiling. That's the term they use. The money is in the ceiling. So the JPM finance director told me that I can write to the finance ministry and ask for the money. So I wrote to Guan Eng and I said, look, the previous money has not been used. We have got so many programs lined up. So can you, since it's a 5 year, after 5 years, yes, it just goes off like that, unused. So I said, can you allocate that money into this year's budget, 2019? He didn't budge. 2020, again I asked, he didn't budge. And then if you look at the Pakatan Harapan manifesto, in the Pakatan Harapan manifesto, they were the one who did it. At that point of time, they didn't include me. But they included in the Pakatan Harapan manifesto that should they come to power, they realized that the Indians do not own equity in the country. So in order to increase the Indian equity in the country, Pakatan Harapan government committed itself to allocating 100 million in the first budget. So by right, in the budget that was tendered by Guan Eng in 2018, which I reminded him, he should have added the 100 million. He didn't. So 2019, I again reminded him, what about the commitment made by the Pakatan Harapan? Nothing. Can you imagine? And this is Pakatan Harapan. So they are not doing it because, why? Because the Hindraf leader is in charge of the Indian community. So they will do everything to stop me. There are various blocks by Guan Eng himself. From me to, in performing, I'm open about it. He can deny. I'm open about it. I wanted to give students, university students. Now what they are doing is, see, I don't wish to criticize the current guys. What they are doing is they're taking the simple approach. Okay, there are 20,000 Indian graduates who are going to universities and all that. Okay, we divide the money, we allocate 50 million, and we give $2,000 each. That is not my idea. My idea is to identify the B40. People, I know. I come from there. See. People from the B40 community, when they go to university, they wouldn't have proper clothing. They wouldn't have shoes for sports. You understand? And they go into university with a small feeling that they are inferior. We do not want to give them that inferior feeling. So we allocated 15,000 for each of them, which means when they go to university, they will spend 5,000 buying a computer. They will spend money on their clothing, shoes, whatever they needed, and to pay the first term fees until they get their PTPT. And we prepare them for that. And we made so when we put in first rejected by finance ministry, it's a mitra allocation. Why should the finance minister reject it? And then when I asked for explanation, he said, no, you give me a comparison what others get. Mara gets 20 over 1,000. Even Jakwa that I was in charge, Jakwa gets 15,000. I say, okay, fine. Jakwa gets 15,000. He said, no, it's too high. Fine. If Jakwa can get 15,000, Jakwa students can get 15,000 one-off per annum. I say, okay, let's reduce it. Fine. Keep the finance minister happy. 12,000. Again rejected. Finally, before the change of government, it was dragged and dragged and dragged. Finally, before the change of government, I get a letter. Diluluskan 1,000 ringgit.
For each student, from the 15,000 become 1,000.
Orang Asli gets 12,000. Mara gets 20 over 1,000. And for Indians, 1,000. Is that what we are worth? And this is the Pakatan Harapan we are talking about. These are the champions of the people.
My goodness. You know, I mean, just to, because I think they have another booking as well, but just in the interest, let's close it with this too. Maybe it sounds to me, from what you're saying, that there may be masters of puppets behind the curtain trying to stop the rise of Indians, or or anyone who wants to elevate Indians from the positions that they're in, particularly people in the B40. Am I right in saying that?
You're absolutely right. I see various reasons why, they see Indians as cheap labor. Simple as that. Why do you think till today, since Pakatan has taken over, there's no talk about the stateless Indian? Do you realize that?
None.
When they were in the opposition, remember there was an MP carrying Najib's photo with the red IC and all that?
Yes.
Now when they came to power, ever since they came to power, there is pin drop silence on the stateless Indians. And Saifuddin Nasution say, oh, no, we'll give Indians and all that. And Saifuddin Nasution, just about 3 weeks ago, I was abroad, I saw that picture, doing exactly what Najib did. Najib gave ICs to old ladies, 70 plus, and he was so proud. And same thing Saifuddin Nasution is doing. He's so proud giving a 70-year-old woman, IC and all that. And you impose condition on a 60-year-old woman to speak Bahasa Malaysia. Whereas when we were in 2014 to Najib, we have given a comprehensive proposal how to solve the issue. When I was a minister, I converted that into a cabinet paper, okay? And I asked for comments from all the Indian MPs, Indian ministers. They had a look, not a single of them commented. I wanted their support. Not a single of them commented. Yet I submitted. Of course, that upsetted Muhyiddin because he says, I'm the Home Minister. I'm the Home Minister. How can you do this? I said, because, he was not well. He didn't attend cabinet meeting. When I raised the matter in cabinet, or in one of those meetings when he was not around, the Prime Minister asked me to put in the paper. So I put in the paper. And then I said, okay, fine, let's withdraw. I will withdraw. Let's put it a joint paper. He said, yeah, that sounds better. And then, okay, fine. Then we withdrew and we put in a joint paper. And then by which time, there was a change of government. And now that they are back, they could activate the paper. The permanent solution is there for the Indians. They will never do it. Why? Because they see Indians as cheap labor. We are cheaper than the Bangladeshi workers here. Believe me, we are cheaper than the Bangladeshi. You know why? Because we got no IC. We don't have to pay income tax, SOXO and EPF.
Terrible. In closing, YB, I think I want to get back to you. What is your plans for yourself, YB? Will you ever come back? Will we ever see you come back in the form that you were before? That incarnation of you as the Hindraf founder, walking in front of tens of thousands, as you said, 100,000 people. Will we ever see that again from you?
See, there are two aspects to it. People get excited with crowd. And in the beginning of the interview, I said, I'm not excited about the crowd. Crowd will come out of excitement. But end of the day, what do we want? What are we focused for? We are focused on what should be achieved for the community. I'm focused on that. Crowd can come, crowd can go. End of the day, we want solution for the problem. Now, my incarnation remains the same. I'm the same person. But, as you said, it may look, some people may say, what's wrong with this guy? One moment he's here, one moment he's there. Yeah. I am where I am. I've said 15 years ago, whatever I said 15 years ago, I still maintain what I said 15 years ago. I still say a lot of things that is not politically correct. Okay? A politician will never say things that I say, right? Because you know why? They are scared of, we will lose the Malay votes, we will lose the Chinese. No, what needs to be said has to be said. And it doesn't matter to me whether, I contest, I don't contest. It doesn't matter to me. Ultimately, what I want is the Indians to live with dignity and equal rights in this country. That's all.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, Babi. I think this has been a very interesting conversation. I would love to have you back again. I think we can go on for another 2 hours.
Yeah.
I loved it. A lot of things were said, a lot of shocking things. I didn't know.
Good, you enjoyed?
Yes, I really enjoyed it.
I thought it was meant to be 1 hour.
yes. But I hope to have you back again. I will speak to Prasad. I think we'll organize one more.
Sure.
Definitely. So we wish you all the best, YB.
Thank you.
I think you are just one of those figures. In my mind, I keep thinking, why can't Hindraf reminds me of the Black Panthers of the US, before they were splintered into the gangs and all that. Such a powerful force, and it like I keep saying, it captured our imagination. It was.
Can I add one more thing there?
Yeah.
See, many people want to see us on the streets because they want us to remain on the streets. I tell my people, look here, while we are all excited about that, but we must be careful. We shouldn't allow other people to send us to the streets and they fulfill their agenda. Many people want to see. I'm very focused on that. I'm very alert of that fact. They will send us to the streets, do all the dirty job. End of the day, they will achieve their political goal, and we will be left with nothing. So I'm very focused on that. It's not, going to the street for a cause, yes, but we must be focused in what we want to achieve ultimately.
Exactly. Well said. That's another eye-opening statement. See, we have to have you back again. Thank you so much, Ravi. Thank you.
Thank you.
So to all of y'all who enjoyed this 1 hour, please, these 2 hours, please share your comments, and if you have any questions for YB, share them, and we will try to get that answered. We'll be sharing all the links to MAP in the description, together with his social media, which is very entertaining. His TikTok. I love to watch some of your comments and your videos. Very entertaining stuff. So till next time, guys, as always, please like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you all soon. Thank you, YB. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Bye.